I'm proud of this level of stupidity. I'm gonna make this short because we have a regular advertisement for Windows in this video. I'm moving and I'm not gonna take a lot of the stuff from Epic Pants with me. It's all 60% off. So if you need a mouse pad, if you need a mouse, oh, there's Cacodemon hanging out right here. Yes, I was cleaning my desk. Go to romerogames.com. Anyway, 60% off using coupon code MOVING. So head over to epicpants.com, grab your gear, and now let's do the regular advertisement and then enjoy this ridiculous build, shall you? Look at that ugly Activate Windows thing. Is this what your Windows 10 looks like? When you try to go and change your color scheme or your background, does it say, oh, sorry, you gotta activate? We need this dark theme. You can go buy a retail CD key if you want to. It's gonna cost you over $100 typically, maybe a lot, maybe $150. And if you're buying Office, it's gonna be a lot more than that. Or you can do like I do and grab an OEM CD key. It's the exact same product when you buy an OEM key. It's just, this is the price that the big corporations and stuff pay when they buy them and put them on laptops or whatever, when they buy them for their offices. So everyone should get the same price, and that's why I always buy OEM keys. And I do it on whokeys.com. We have Windows 11, and you can also get Office. Pick the version you want. I'm gonna get Windows 10 Pro. By using coupon code TS25, you can get 25% off these prices here. So go ahead and put TS25 in here as your coupon code, hit apply, and then you can see we can get Windows 10 Pro for $14.85. Once you're finished, if you wanna access your key, you click on your name on the top right, click on User Center, and you'll see My Purchase Orders. Right here, you'll be able to view the keys that you've purchased just by clicking on View Keys and Codes. Then you will see your code right here. Just go ahead and copy this code, press Start, type Activate, and you'll see activation settings come up. Click on that, then click Change Product Key. Right there, you can paste in your code and hit Next, and then you will be activated. It's very simple. And while you're on WhoKeys, be sure to check out some of their new stuff like their wireless mice and mechanical keyboards. All right, now to the regularly scheduled video. I love small form factor computers. I hate building small form factor computers. So I wanted to build something a little bit smaller. I've been using the Corsair Carbide 678C, which is a very full, big case. It's got room for a gazillion hard drives, and it's got an optical bay, which I love because I like using DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, and stuff like that because I'm weird and old school that way. And then it has size for a full-size ATX motherboard, but I'm moving, and there's many reasons I want to move, and I want to downsize and have something that will fit into a suitcase easily. So I wanted something really small. I have had a lot of trouble building something with everything that I want. So this is a story of compromise, and we'll talk about the different choices I made and the different corners I had to cut and the bits of sadness here and there when I realized that I couldn't have everything that I wanted. But I was able to get more than I think anyone has ever gotten into an S400 from Cooler Master. That is their Silencio series. It's a micro ATX. Really all the stuff that I have in here should not fit, but I did some workarounds and made it fit. The first thing I tried was this case. It's the Sama IM01. I love this case because it's very similar to a Cooler Master. It's like a kind of a ripoff of a Cooler Master, but it's mostly metal and it's tiny, and you can fit a lot of stuff in here thanks to all the internal brackets and everything. But I couldn't fit everything that I wanted to get in here, so I had to give up on that. And also it's not as quiet. So I went back to my first choice, which was the Cooler Master Silencio S400. It's a very small form factor, and it's really quiet. As far as the thermals go, it's not as good as some of the other ones, obviously, because this case is designed for silence rather than thermals. So that's why I went with that, because when I'm making music and stuff like that, I want a more silent case. The motherboard that I put in here, it's the MSI b550M mortar. So this is the motherboard I bought right here. I ordered this, just the standard mortar. That's the Wi-Fi. See, look, this is what I ordered right here. Do you see any Wi-Fi on this thing? Let me just come back over here. This is what came in. It said it was brand new. I had to break the seal to get into this box. I don't see anything about Wi-Fi on here. There's the I/O shield. That is not the same thing. So I guess I got lucky, but has this happened to anybody else? You order something brand new, and then this comes in, it seems like it's brand new. I wonder if it's a refurb or something. Anybody know anything about this? MSI, does this ever happen? So cool, I guess. We'll see if it works. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to use this. This will be my motherboard. Now, there's a couple caveats with this motherboard. So if you install two M.2 in this motherboard, you can install one right above the first PCI Express 16 slot, and then you can install another one over by the second PCI Express 1X slot. Now, the problem with that is if you install both of those M.2, well, then your last, it's like the 16 speed slot, I think it runs at 8 speed, but the last PCI Express slot on the board is disabled. And if you're running a big graphics card like a 3080 Ti or something like I have, well, those cards are like 2.5 to 3 slots with their big beefy coolers. So that covers up those two 1X slots, meaning that you're gonna have no expandability whatsoever. You may as well just be building an ITX system. So that's the problem I ran into, because I got it thinking, oh, this is really exciting. I'll just be able to put, I wanted to have, that's why I went with micro ATX. I wanted some expansion there. I wanted to run an extra PCI Express card. I got my graphics card ready and I was like, okay, it's a big fat graphics card. And then I was reading in the manual of the Mag Mortar B550M that the last PCI Express slot is disabled.
If I put an M.2 right here and then I put another one right there, it disables the fourth PCI Express slot, which happens to be the big 8X slot, or I guess it's a 16X, but I think it's only 8X anyway. So yeah, if you put an M.2 here, you can't use the last slot. But with the huge graphics cards, it covers up all the PCI Express slots. For me, it's like kind of dumb that these two are the ones that are not disabled. But that's what they did. So I had to get a PCI Express 1X extension cable. And then I plugged it in over here because I really want a Sound Blaster X-Fi. Also, it won't go in the end there, so I've just got a extra USB thing there that I use for my e-license manager. This stupid USB thing right here has to always be plugged in so I can use my keyboard and stuff, like not my typey keyboard, but my playing keyboard, like for music. So anyway, I've got this here, this X-Fi. Now I don't actually need to plug this X-Fi in, and the reason is because I'm using Audio Meter Banana.
This is the program that I will use. So I can actually map the output of the Sound Blaster X-Fi and use it as an input and map it to the output on my device, so I can use it as the engine to play my games, use it as the sound device to play my games, while everything is outputted virtually through this program and this interface.
Which happens to be a solid-state logic device that's on my desktop. I mostly use it for media creation, but whenever I play games I need the EAX support, so I've got this in here. But it's just kind of floating around in the case right now, mounted on that little 1X bracket, and I've got all the cords tucked away and stuff like that. So what I've done here is I've hidden it behind this cable here. Let's see if you can see. See how I've got it hidden there? And to make sure it doesn't make contact with the case, because I don't think I'd want metal on metal when there's a current going through this, I have used all of the different rubber grommets, or these rubber dampening things for. I normally put hard drives here, like your SATA drives and stuff like that, but I've mounted them all here. I'm literally going to tape this with electrical tape. I'm going to tape it right here because I'm insane. And then I'll put the graphics card in there, and that's what we'll have. I'm proud of this level of stupidity.
So I want this for old games because the EAX support does sound a little bit better than OpenAL, because you can do EAX with like OpenAL and stuff. You can run Alchemy, which is the program, and do EAX support through just software. But it does sound more authentic with the hardware. So I really wanted that. So there you go. That's the main thing I'm building this for, is music creation. And I have this audio interface, and this is where I hook up my headphones and also my speakers. It's all hooked up right here. So that's how I have that running. It is ridiculous convoluted, but it works! And that's the main thing. All right, so that's how I've got my ridiculously weird setup going. Now let's continue with the saga. MSI, whoever works at MSI who accidentally packaged the B550M mortar Wi-Fi, accidentally put that in the box for the B550 just regular mortar, thank you. Hope you didn't get fired. All right, my CPU, and this is another thing that was almost too much to put in this case. The AMD Ryzen 9 5950X. I feel like this is not something most people need, but I feel like I need it because the music software that I use can kind of chug unless you're careful. And having just all those cores and all those threads really helps. Why didn't I go with the new Intel? Well, it's simple. I like the new Intel stuff. It's really fast, but AM4. It's like Intel's TikTok nonsense where you're always having to upgrade your motherboard and stuff. I don't like that. So I like the fact that with this board I can just use so many different CPUs, even though I'm probably just going to only use this. With my older builds and stuff like that, whenever I switch to a newer computer, I usually take the old motherboards and throw something together and either sell it or give it away or whatever. So my old motherboard was repurposed and I used an old AM4 CPU in it, and it all works. There's just so much compatibility with the AM4 socket, so I got the big beefiest AM4, and I'm not going to upgrade this for a few years. I don't think I need to. This thing is completely fulfilling all of my needs. So that's the CPU that I've decided to go with. Now for the graphics card, I've had a couple 3080s, and I most recently had a Gigabyte 3080, and I hated it. It was so loud. I've never had a graphics card as loud as that. So I switched over to this one, and it ended up being about the same price because I sold my 3080, and then the graphics card market crashed, and I got this one for literally the same price. I was able to upgrade to a 3080 Ti. I don't feel like I need this much power, but I'll take it. And the reason I got this one was because of the silence. It's so quiet. Now, my other options probably would have been to try to water cool this thing, and that might be something I do in the future. I change my components a lot, and I like to mess around under the hood. So that's why I don't do custom loops, because I don't want to have to always drain things and stuff. So this GPU's sagging a little bit. It's big. I'm going to put a brace in there. Don't worry. I'll get one. I've ordered one, and it'll be in the mail. I'm not going to do a video on a brace, but yeah, I'll get rid of that droop and saggy GPUs. But this thing's so thick. If I had a way to easily do water cooling and make it one slot, oh, that would be so cool. Then I could use those 1X PCI Express slots, and that would be the dream for this. But right now, I'm just getting it built, and I'm going to throw this in there, and it's huge. Now, this graphics card, the shroud extends off the back of the cooling unit by several millimeters, and I don't know why Asus did that. Like, why is the metal shroud on the front and back longer than the actual fins? It's like a little bit longer. I feel like it could have been a tiny bit shorter. I needed like 3 or 4 millimeters of extra space. And then I wouldn't have had to compromise pretty much at all, because I would have been able to put an AIO in the front of my system instead of the top. Now, why would I want it in the front instead of the top? Simple, I want that 5¼ inch for optical. I really like having an optical drive to play my older games and stuff like that. And then also every now and then I'll burn something or rip a Blu-ray. So I couldn't do that because the graphics card is just too big. And even though I downsized my AIO, so I originally decided I wanted to go with an Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 240 because it's just really, really performant and it's not going to be too loud. So that's what I wanted to go with. But it has a fat radiator, like really fat. So it wouldn't fit in the front with the GPU at all. So then I was like, you know what? Let's just put it on top, and I'll have to remove my 5¼ bay, and I'll be sad, but I'll just run an external DVD. I can do that. I can run an external, 5¼ whatever. I can run an external Blu-ray. So I did that, but there's a problem. This is my memory. I have 64 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RGB memory. So I'm running this memory. Now, as you can see here, it's got a little bit of a bump on top, the shroud, and it's very minimal, but that was too much. That was too big. The radiator bumped into my memory, and it was like both times it was like only a few millimeters away. In the front with the graphics card, only a few millimeters away. On the top with the Vengeance Pro, only a few millimeters away. And it was one of those days where I was like, I looked at the measurements and I thought it was gonna work, but I didn't even think about the Corsair Vengeance memory because it's kind of low profile. It's not like some of the ones with the huge goofy fins and everything. It's not obnoxious, but it just would not fit. So I was like, you know what? I should have done this in the first place. I should have just gotten the ice bar from AlphaCool. It's the LT240 because it has a very slim radiator. Now, despite the fact that it's a very slim radiator, it's still all copper. If you look, they did a little bit of a powder coat painting on the outside, but the fins themselves, if you look inside, are all copper. So it's going to be performant. Pump is a little bit loud, even with it mounted correctly. We're not talking about the gurgle or anything. We're not talking about any kind of we don't need to do any investigative journalism here. It's a little bit louder. I can hear it whirring inside my computer, and that irritates me because I wanted this to be a silent system. So the pump is a little bit too loud on this one, but it's nice and super cool. And 98% of people will not notice or care about the noise from the pump, but I will because I'm ridiculous and persnickety. So yeah, I finally got that. And once I got it, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can fit that in the front. And again, the GPU is it's literally millimeters too big. The shroud on this thing is just too big. And I'm not gonna waste time getting another GPU and trying to deal with that. I'm not doing it. All right, now let's talk about the storage options that we have in here. For my OS, I'm running the same thing I ran in my last system. I'm just swapping over the OS drive and my other hard drives. So I'm running the Sabrent Rocket 2 terabyte, and this is a Gen 4 NVMe, really freaking fast. And for the money, give me this. I don't need to be spending way extra to get one of the Samsung models. Speaking of Sabrent, I'm also using this. And full disclosure, they sent me this a long time ago, before I did my last build, so that I could do a review. So I don't know if I'd be able to afford this on my own. Don't know. but I would probably grab at least another 2 terabyte. This has been super handy. I use it to store all of the footage I'm editing, which gives me, like normally I would have to like move the editing stuff over from a regular hard drive or from the NAS to an SSD to start editing. But now I can put whatever I'm editing right here and don't worry about it. It's just super fast. So I do that. I keep my music files here, which some of those music samples are gigabytes and gigabytes. Some of those libraries, piano sounds and symphonic sounds, we're talking like hundreds of gigabytes worth of sound effects. Huge. So I keep those there because we don't want those on a spinning hard drive, a slow hard drive. It will take forever. That can really slow down the music creation process when you're trying to load samples and stuff like that. And then also whenever we're working on the Unreal Engine, I keep all of that on this drive. And I've used almost half of it. So I need to go through there and clear it up a little bit. But this drive has been really handy for just professional use. I feel like it's worth the money if you're really serious, but I don't know if I would probably get the 2 terabyte and then just deal with moving some stuff back and forth if I was on my own. Now for my regular hard drive, I did buy this one. I bought it a while back for my NAS, but I just upgraded my NAS to some 12 terabyte and 14 terabyte drives. So I had a few of these free, and they didn't have any bad sectors on them. So I transferred all my other regular hard drives. I had a couple of those. Just transferred the storage onto this one. And I'm just using that for just storage on my computer. And it's totally fine to run a NAS drive in a computer. And why wouldn't you? I always like to run the best quality drives I can get for the lowest price. If you're coming into this market for a brand new drive, the Iron Wolves are good, but the WD Reds are probably a little bit better. There's also the Seagate Exos, which are enterprise grade. A lot of times they're cheaper than the Iron Wolf. I'm not sure if it's the branding or what, but these are better than the Iron Wolf drive. So if you see one of these and you need a big hard drive, this is this one or the WD Reds. Just do some price comparison. Both are going to give you really good results. All right, next up for the power supply. This is another thing. I took my 1,000-watt power supply out of my old computer because I was mostly just doing a downsizing thing. And I was like, cool. I'll just move my 1,000-watt power supply from my old computer to my new. Oh shit, nothing fits. So the deal is, if I want to use my old 1,000-watt power supply, it's big. It's a Fractal Design Tesla power supply, and it's big. It's 1,000 watts, works great, but it's too big if I want to have a regular hard drive. The hard drive bay will not fit underneath the shroud if there's a big, big power supply. So I had to think. I like having a big hard drive in my computer. That's something I just like to have. Don't have to have it because I've got a NAS, but I like to. So I was like, you know what? Silverstone makes this. It is a compact 144 millimeter 1,000 watt, and they also make a 1,200 watt. And these are very well reviewed. I believe it's got one strong 12 volt rail, which I like. And now it fits, and I love it. It's great. It's quiet, totally fine. So for the cooling, we've got a lot of cooling going on in this case. So I swapped out all the fans in the case for the NF812s from Noctua. So you'll see those all over the place. I even put them on the Radiator. And these are really quiet, really efficient, and they're Noctuas. In my opinion, they're goofy aesthetic, but once you get the entire case like this, it kind of has a theme of bad aesthetics. But yes, there you go. And then I had one of these, an NH-D15 that I no longer use, and I don't even know where it went, but I had this fan just in a box. I was like, hey, look what I found. So I used that one in the front, because essentially this is a 140 millimeter fan, but the screw mounting holes are in the 120 millimeter configuration. So they're cheating. See those holes there? I was able to put that in the front and it fit just fine. So I've got one of these to blow a little more air, and it's actually even quieter. So just a little bit better performance, but only one of those in the system, and all the rest are the NF812s from Noctua, and these are my favorite fans. They're the best case fans that you can take that to the bank. Yes. And then last but not least, of course, I use the Fennec products like the Fennec Standard Issue, and comes in white as well. And then I use the Mother Membrane keyboard. This is what I use at my desk. Now I made this because it's very similar to like the IntelliMouse in the shape, which is really my favorite mouse, probably of all time, was the old IntelliMouse. But I wanted a better sensor, and so I went to China and found this, and I put the 3310 sensor in there, which is my favorite sensor. It just feels the best to me. There are better sensors like the 3366, I believe, and all that. We've got one of the mouse with one of those in there. But for me, I like this one the best. The only difference is that you can't really do this with this mouse. If you slam your mouse like this to do quick turns, that can be too much acceleration for the mouse. So if you just move around like this, totally fine. If you do this, you need the 3360 or better. I keep my DPI or my CPI high enough so that I don't have to slam on the on the desk a little bit. But yeah, I just use my mouse like this. So that's my favorite sensor, and this is the mouse I use. And then there's the white version. I actually really like the white version. It's pretty, but I don't want to do a full-on ad in this video. You've already seen an ad in this video. And then this is my keyboard. I was very selective about the rubber domes, but I've grown to really love this keyboard for a few different reasons. While I don't think it feels quite as satisfying as like my favorite switch was the buckling spring, it does almost feel like a Topra. It feels a little bit like a, well, Topras are a little bit poppier, but these rubber domes that I found are nice and poppy, and they don't make any noise. You know, they're very quiet. So let me just, I don't want to stop anything, but. So they're less clicky than like a green or blue switch, but I actually like them a lot better than black or red switches, if you ask me. While the rubber domes, they still feel really good to me. And they're nice and quiet, so when I'm making videos and stuff. All right, that's pretty much the whole build. Kind of curious to know what you think about all the different parts I used. This was one hell of a difficult build because trying to get all the stuff I wanted into a case that's probably too small for it without doing custom water cooling, which would have made it a little bit easier to fit things in there. I want everything, and I want it in a small package, but I can't have everything, so I had to do a few different compromises. If I can figure out a way to get the radiator in the front, I will definitely put that 5 1/4 bay back in the top and just put my Blu-ray burner in there, so I can use DVDs and Blu-rays and CDs and everything like that. But otherwise, having an external one's not the end of the world. It's just like the post-apocalypse before the end of the world for me. Let me know what you think about the size of the build, and also, how is it? Do you think it's sexy or what? Would you use it? Again, don't let me entice you to go out there and buy all these parts. If your computer works fine, there's no reason for you to upgrade. I need to tell you that because a lot of times people see this and they start to develop desires for parts that are new that they don't even need. So don't let me sell you this stuff. I don't want to influence you. Don't want to be an influencer. I just want to be a dude online who talks about what I just did. So this is for me. It's fun to look at all this stuff and see how it works. And it's a ridiculous build that's probably ill-advised. So take what you want from that. I'll see you later.